everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be playing normal domain over the Niv Mizzet version, where I've been playing that one quite a lot because I think overall it has a lot more fun cards in it. But this deck continues to do well and did really well in the recent challenge, getting a second place. For the most part, is kind of a stock list. If you ever look at a challenge, there's going to be a couple of things that change in and out, like are we playing a third Get Lost over a second Jace? Who knows? So realistically, this deck is super flexible outside of the deck. You know what I mean? So realistically, you can look at 4 to 3 Beanstalks as kind of one of the flex slots, but most often you can also flex down on a temporary lockdown as a 3 or 2 of. And then Heaped Harvest is always going to typically be a 4 of. Sunfall is always going to be a 4 of. I about said Atraxa. Atraxa is typically a 3 of. Her migration is a 4 and Leyline Binding is a 4. So these are pretty much solved, and your mana base is kind of already solved as we're up to 26 lands. And we have a lot of surveil lands with a lot of basics that work well with Heaped Harvest and the Fabled Passage on 3 caverns, which is important. So if you're ever in that control matchup, you can get your Atraxas and things to resolve. But with that said, oftentimes these are the only spots you flex, and realistically it's either to go down on a temporary lockdown, go up on a Get Lost, or go down on a Beanstalk, go up on a lockdown. They all kind of fit into each other, or you can kind of piece in some sideboard cards if you really feel like the meta is going to cater towards something that you might need to answer. Sometimes we play a Nissa in the main board, sometimes we play an Midrange recruiter. You give Atraxa's haste or herd migration haste. It all flexes really weird. But with that said, I'm going to back out and fix this real quick. This deck just won't go away. It just will not die. It just keeps coming back and is an absolute nightmare. As somebody that has kind of been a I'm not a judge for Magic by any means, but as a guy that's been in a judging type position, a scorekeeper for matchups, watching domain and paper is an absolute nightmare, especially when it's the mirror, because you know you're going to time. They're going to draw their cards. The win condition is, do you have a Jace in your main board? And oftentimes, if they find out that you have Jace in your main and they don't, they just concede. And then they go to the sideboard and they grab those effects and they put them in the main board and they say, okay, let's play games 2 and 3 with Jace's in our deck. And can that sometimes be boring? But domain itself is a cool deck, and I kind of like it a lot. It's just frustrating whenever you're on the other side, because if you play domain, you know sometimes how awkward your hands could be and things like that. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and hop in the games. I don't think there's a whole lot to intro here, but we want to see how this deck does with the new current meta and how aggressive it is, and how often can we just pulverize something like bunnies, for example. Can we escape the mono red decks? Can we beat up on the Golgari decks and things like that? So with that said, let's go ahead and dive into the games. If you all enjoy my content, please consider subscribing. Deck list will be in the description along with the sideboard, along with a link if you just want to do that as well. But with that said, let's go ahead and play some games. Opponent goes first. Our hand's really slow. We have a herd migration at least. I mean, we'll try. We get a couple looks and a little bit of life gain depending on what we're up against. It's rabbits. Okay. Well, we can play temporary lockdown on turn 2, or not turn 2, on turn 3 because of this on turn 2. We just have to go get a basic plains. Let's see it. Now, obviously they can eventually play at night, which would be tough. All right. Now we have a decision to make. We can cycle the herd migration to deck then a bit, or we can just play a surveil land. And honestly, I guess I don't really want to go grab an additional white source if I don't have to. And now we'll keep on top. We'll play swamp. We'll lock down, hoping that there's not a knight here. That's what we're hoping anyway. Are we knighting? Really, honestly, I hope they like offspring one of these or do that. That gives us outs. 1 white, so they won't be able to pick up the temporary lockdown if they have something as an answer for it. So we fire this off, call it a day. And then we're going to be looking to Heaped Harvest or herd migration or so on and so forth. Most likely set up the Heaped Harvest and then look to crack it the next turn, as long as they don't play anything too crazy here. By too crazy, I mean like that, you know. So if they played the Lord, that'll go to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It'd be exactsies. So in that case, I can just cycle Herd Migration instead. And then I'll have Archangel on the following turn. Yeah, okay. That seems reasonable. And then we'll just go grab our mountain here. We'll just play it. We're at 15. Yeah, that doesn't work. Okay. I was just thinking through things. There's that, which Sunfall helps out a ton. And a land. So now we take minimal damage in comparison to what we calculated. And we get the Sunfall's board. And just like that, the creature deck now has to rebuild with awkward mana. Now, can they do that? Of course. But we can immediately just Archangel here if I even have to. We'll play Angel. Honestly, with where our life total's at, I might as well. We could Heap Harvest to thin, but we're going to do this, and then we're going to play an Atraxa next turn, and our opponent's most likely going to pick them up. I think Archangel into Atraxa is just going to be it, and then they didn't play the other card, which kind of implies that it's probably a land. Because even playing like a Knight, you had the mana to do so. So, leave it up to the Cavern of Souls to make things awkward. Kind of in the same boat. Do I need to maul? Because these caverns are so bad. This hand's so good. I guess they're on the play, so I get an extra draw. I mean, I'm going to try it, I guess. Kind of have to get the other land anyway, so it's not like we're out too bad. Sure. Well. Well. We'll see. We'll see how bad the board is. If I have to go get a white or if I could set up for a green. So I'm looking at 6 maybe next turn. I think I'm gonna green Beanstalk. Or I'm gonna play this instead. Sure. I'll take any lands that kind of diversify, especially after we play the lockdown. Because then we'll get to play planes here. We'll get to lockdown. We hope they overcommit a bit. Hop 2, it's a great one. Just hopefully no Knight here. And I just take the 6 and we call it a day. That's what it looks like we're going to see. Thankfully. I would play this basic planes. We play this temporary lockdown. And we absorb everything. We call it a day. And now, with Caverns included, we can still play Beanstalk and play Get Lost, which might be where we're at. I think that is indeed where we're at now. So, Angel. Play the Beanstalk. Take our draw. We find a mountain, which is pretty nice because we do already have a white mana. So, like, technically for binding our domain, like, this only adds 1, so doesn't the mountain, right? It's the same amount being added. This is a Knight now. That'd be interesting. Okay. So here's the problem. Do I remove this or do I just Sunfall them both and just save my Get Lost? And I think it's just take the damage and then Sunfall the board, to be honest with you. Sure. I know this is 4 damage and it's kind of unnecessary, but with rabbits, they don't really have a lot of it. I don't think they have a way to give anything like haste. The closest thing they have is this. Yeah, so here, Sunfall, draw a card. I guess they could Get Lost this on my end step and that could count as instant speed. But then I'd be happier that I have my Get Lost available. Right? That's kind of what I was setting up more than anything, is being able to hold on to this. And then hopefully they play 2 things here. And play here. Not gonna be upset with that. Cast this and 2 with this. And with that said, just like the previous Rabbids game, I think it's over, but up to it. Nice. Play here. I don't even think I need it anymore. That should be the scariest thing to them. 1, 2. And we're up to 16. And then I'm attacking. And now we're up to 18 to their 17. I always have a Sunfall as a backup trump card more than anything. Honestly, respectable. They're playing it out. They're playing to the micro chance that they have to win the game, which is, I would argue, it's pretty impossible for me to lose the game here. I mean, I'm gaining 6 life, and the max damage they have on board is 6, and that's with a Lord in play, implying that I haven't interacted with them at all. They go to 8. I'm at 24, and yeah. If I had enough to remove all their creatures and then just find lethal, I would, but I don't. I guess I could binding and draw and maybe find another option, but sure. All right, we go first. Pretty cool hand. Sure. So we can get our surveil lands down, which will be 3 colors, and then we can go get like a mountain here, which will allow our Leyline Binding to be available, because that'd be 4, which means this will be 2 mana. Land. I'll take a second Leyline Binding here, just in case. We don't know what we're up against, and Leyline Binding is typically our best removal spell. Blizzard, okay. So it is going to be good, especially until we get into the Sunfall range. Take another Surveil here. Second Herd Migration. I don't really think I want to waste time trying to get to that, but I could be wrong for that, Ben. Now we'll be able to play a mountain. We'll be able to Leyline Binding. Could see like a Gav or something come in play here. Ooh. Pretty good. Thankfully, we kept the second Leyline Binding. Not really concerned about the deep Cavern Bat with a hand like this. Untapped source, honestly, with this board state, I would go Heaped Harvest to try to get to the Sunfall. Yeah. That's really funny. They just got rid of my they just got rid of my Herd Migration because they know it can gain me life. They don't really want to deal with that. So I'll go grab a mountain, like I said. Now Leyline Binding is available technically. And they don't have another Flame Gecko because I don't think they don't commit it last turn. So even if they play a land and hit me with Vine Lasher, outside of the creature that is a direct Thoughtseize kind of effect, I'm not too worried. Okay. Interesting. Take 4, gain it back by cycling Herd Migration here. I think the answer is yes. Cycle. Like, I just took that from him. We're able to grab the swamp here because the Heaped Harvest is green, I guess. It doesn't like really matter if I have the Surveil land. We have to go grab a white source though. Alright, the auto tapper's not gonna screw me over. Very cool. Take action, go grab white. Because now I don't really care what their hand looks like. Well, I kind of do, I guess. I guess just like take the Gev. Actually, this is a mistake. Because I guess if they find a land, they're going to be able to Thoughtseize me anyway. If they have the one that does it. I keep calling it Thoughtseize. Alright, honestly, works out. Perfect. Let's go ahead and Surveil because we're definitely Sunfalling this board. Temporary Lockdown's a good reload. This is going to allow us to, honestly, at this point, we're going to get to casting Herd Migration and force them to deal with it. The main issue I think they're running into is probably having too many things like Cut Down or Get Lost in their hand. This one. I'm not cycling Herd Migration, so I might as well keep that on top. I'm going to cycle it away, I guess. Now I do have a 4/4 that's an artifact and 2 large for Cut Down. So they have to have another type of removal effect. Fire it up. This dodges pretty much most of their removal unless they put Bitter Triumph in their deck. And at that point, I might even just let this hit. Because, like, Our bindings are so valuable. Do Bitter Triumph and they get rid of the creature we thought they would. So now they have to hit a land for their turn to do anything. I guess we just smother them. We go that route. They use 2 cards to get rid of this, and we're just gonna let them shuffle away the Fable, even though I'm not really inclined to do so. We'll grab another forest here, find another land, and then here's this. Now we'll see, and then we can just temporarily lock down the board and have a good time. Oh, you do get my lockdown, which is the only card that I would not want to play against myself. They take the whole damage. They're down to 3. We'll just go ahead and end turn. They play another one of these, sure. But I can't imagine there's anything they have to beat us here. Or like catch back up. Sure. Alright. Cast temporary lockdown. You're staying here with me. Can you imagine if they were just like, yeah, go ahead and attack me, get lethal, right? And then I'm just like, temporary lockdown the board. We're continuing this game. That'd be so toxic. Go first. Sure. Hopefully we can surveil something decent. I'm gonna let that go. Not like super thrilled about letting it go. If it was about any other land, I'd be more inclined to keep it, because like we see what's up. We see what our opponent's feeling. And now my binding's 3 mana. I do get to play it next turn, which is nice. We just kind of hope we get to dodge the double striker here. Where are we on the turn? A lot of slick shot, huh? Alright. Well, this doesn't work, so we can't play it this turn. If you're wondering what I mean, is that it doesn't reduce our Leyline Binding by anything. We actually can't play it. Now, if it was a red-green land, we could. Or something. Because then Leyline Binding would be cheaper, but we have to be able to cast it, or we're dead. I know, we're at 19. Doesn't seem realistic, but it is what it is. So our opponent's kind of going all in like this, which is interesting. Not sure if I'm supposed to Leyline Binding or not. Honestly, on 2 damage, I think I'm not supposed to. You do nothing in this matchup. I appreciate you showing up, but you're not what we're here for. You're like okay in this matchup, but nothing pretty. Basically, we need them to play slick shots and then hopefully just have bad spells, which isn't going to happen, but you know, it is what it is. Sure. Played one, you might as well play the other one, you know what I mean? What do we think their hand is? They didn't play a land. It's probably just everything they would ever need. You're getting around my no more lies. I can't believe you. Sure. Well, if I can somehow survive, because they keep committing to this guy. Okay. I mean, I'm dead regardless of what happens here. Because now they can fling any of them at random. Sure, dude. Come on, fling one. You got it, I believe you. Fling one. Oh, you have a scamp? I believed in you so much. What happened? Normally I'm just super dead there. They hit a land. Bad time to hit one of those. This last card a spell? Or is it the fling creature that we knew about? Or is it lightning strike? I don't know. It could be a lot of things. It is the fling creature. I don't know if they just drew that. That's a really bad time to draw that, of course. I guess play this, go get our land. Yes, I would gladly do that. So now we have a couple ways to gain this life. We'll see what happens here. Oh, I didn't even play my land for turn. Which is actually kind of a big mistake. This, I guess. Does this work? Monster trades gets over for 1. Here. We're definitely firing it off. And now we're technically within lightning strike range, but that's a mirage, of course. We'll get a swamp here. Because that means our Leyline Binding will be 1 mana. And then I'll actually play my Surveil land, so I'm not an idiot. We'll take that, and then we'll pass. Now we have Binding plus Herd Migration to go up to 9, and then we have other Herd Migration, which we might argue to just slam it. Is that a slick shot? That's a slicky boy. Sure. Cycle. I guess that Herd Migration is going away. And we think we kind of changed what we have to do. Oh, that'll also do it. I'll play this one. I'll grab this one. Oh no. Wow. I actually can't believe we won that game. That's actually kind of absurd. I thought they had it for sure whenever they were like, play 2 slick shots, Swiss Spear, and the dude that does whatever. And they had lethal if they had to fling for any of their creatures. It would have killed me. But, oh well, we take it. Opponent goes first. This is our hand. And just 2 landers, huh? Okay, we have ways to get land as long as it's a slower match. And it seems to be that way with the Hedge Maze. Or maybe not. Interesting. Leyline Binding draw, pretty cool with the other Surveil land. You're just getting Simic what? Like Doppelgang? Gotta be Doppelgang style deck. They're just blue-green. They might have like red in there to splash rocks in. Maybe they are teamer. We've just only seen blue-green lands. Jace can go away for now. Don't know what we're against. At this point, I'm pretty confident in Simic unless this tells us otherwise. Alright. Thankfully, we draw one, so we can Heaped Harvest here. As well as them. But we'll show that we're a little bit spicier. We're on red. Now, her migration is getting closer. Now we play Fabled Passage to go get the swamp, or we sack the kind of the Heaped Harvest to go get a swamp. They sack here. Does that mean they don't have another land? And they're just trying to do this? No. Okay. They're playing the Surveil land after. That makes sense. Okay. Well, neither of us have done anything, so that's cool. I'll sack this too. I can do the same thing. I will take the action, of course. We'll get the swamp. We'll just play the Fabled Passage. And I'll just go ahead and pop it as well. We know we need a plains here, so let's go grab that. Then I'll pass. Just rather it not stop me every step of the way, even though I'm going to get stopped every step of the way anyway. It's honestly better to have Fabled Passage in play, because now they'll always just kind of assume it's Fabled Passage. Sure. I might need these to actually win the game. I guess I need one more land, so I might as well cycle these. We'll grab an additional white. We have so many plains in play already, and our hand is primarily in the plains category. But with that said, now we can play Up the Beanstalk and then cast Sunfall. The only card I'm really afraid of from them now is kind of a domain killer in Jace. But we'll see. Get rid of old... I call this Bonnie and Clyde for some reason. I don't know why. It was just like a thing that we set around the shop for a while, so... Just what we call it. But now... In blue-green, I guess they could be like... They could play the Seasons. I do think they're a doppelgang deck. That's the only thing that like really truly makes sense to me. So we're gonna fire off Herd Migration, make 5 3/3s. But if they also play the Season card, it won't bounce any of these 3/3s because these are tokens. This obviously, of course, will be on Angel. I could have just played this and held up Leyline Binding, I suppose. Which probably would have been a smarter play, considering if they do have Doppelgang, I'm kind of in trouble. Especially because most Doppelgang decks do copy this. But if they go for it, they go for it. I couldn't Leyline Binding that anyway, so they play a second Cornucopia, sure. Heaped Harvest, okay. Yeah, this is, to me, this is maxing our Doppelgang potential. So most likely it's a get lost on the 6/6 and then a Leyline Binding on something else. So we'll play this. This will also be named on Angel. We'll tap one of these for colorless. Do this. Colorless. Resolve. Autopay. And again, like we said, we have a Leyline Binding to get rid of like an Ancient Cornucopia or something if need be. So we'll do this. And then I'll do this. I'm just casting everything at this point. They have like some sort of counterspell, then great. Then there's that. And now we're in there for a lot. I would so fast. Resolve all. My token's getting bounced and they're surveilling too. Alright, they're gonna do that before they surveil. Makes sense. Gaining a lot more life here. Thinning a bit. But what does it mean? What does it all mean, Mason? Call of Duty reference. Numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Got 14 coming in. Technically, they have a 3-turn clock here. Which realistic? Left on top? Oh no. Left both on top. Not absurd. Yeah. There's a season we know couldn't bounce our stuff. Sure. What's to play? Excuse me? That's where we're at? I mean, Doppelgang's still good there. Wait, we know what we have to Leyline Binding here. Only I can be the token man. Now, they could have a second season. Oh, does that get us there? 12, 13, 14? It's so close. Yeah, we do this. Need another white source. Combat. Just in case I messed up the math somehow in my head very quickly. Yeah, they would live at 1. Which most likely means they'll live at more than 1. But let's cast Atraxa, draw 2. And now we're digging for anything interactive like Leyline Binding, for example. Leyline Binding number 2, Atraxa number 2. Grab a Heaped Harvest while we're at it, and I guess Surveil Land. So draw 4 seems pretty good. Sure, and turn. A lockdown land, heaped, land. Little part of me just wants to absorb these ancient cornucopias, but they have to answer my board, and the season doesn't do it because it's, again, return each non-land, non-token permanent to its owner's hand. So it can't return lands and it can't return tokens. So it's this weird thing where that is their like board wipe or board resetter, and it's just like kind of an awkward card, but they might have something else in the tank. Who knows? Is our gang getting doppeled? They are doppelganging. Less binding. We have to basically take care of both of these. We have 3 targets, and Atraxa is one of them. We can't get rid of Atraxa regardless. But our Atraxa equals out their Atraxa, so it's fine. I believe we targeted the right one. Can I see the stack, please? Or no, we already let it resolve. Never mind. I didn't do it both on the stack. No floating mana there. Okay. I believe that's a good game. Yeah. It'd been very cool. They could have played it out, but I think unless they played a mana, the only thing I can think of is if they had a bounce spell or no, because that doesn't even get it, right? Yeah, I don't know what they would have to answer that, but either way, we take it down. Very cool. All right. Well, you can probably tell by the title of what I called the deck list. The main's just not going to die, is it? Here we were thinking, oh, all the triumphs are rotating out. This deck's probably going to go away. And they're like, no, we figured it out. Heaped Harvest is good enough. We don't need anything else. Why? Like, why is this the case? It is kind of funny to see the evolution of this deck, considering now we're on 3 lockdowns, but it's interesting. It's an interesting list indeed. There's sideboard and everything if you need it, but I don't really feel like I need to talk about it too much. That's the sad part. It's like we know Domain's good, but how good is it currently? I'm oftentimes on the side that it's probably pretty bad in best of one, just for the fact that it's kind of hard to beat mono red when they're on the play. Like, it feels impossible at times, but sometimes if you can win that matchup, you're like so good against everything else. It's kind of hard to be like, well, do we care about red that much? We win, say we win 30-40% of the time, just depending. Like, we're obviously going worst case scenario, but say we win 30-40% of the time, but our matchup against everything else is 70-30. We're good. You know what I mean? Like, oftentimes you're going to play against a lot more than just mono red. It just always feels like mono red because it's so annoying, pretty much. Like, you're always like, I'm personally always irritated. But yeah, I think our loss percentage on that is a little bit closer to more like 40, or we win 40%, they probably win 60, but we're probably 70-30 with a lot of other things if you play it like optimally, which a deck like this, sometimes you actually have to get quite a bit of reps. It's pretty easy to just pilot this deck overall, but to pilot the deck significantly well, or really well, my brain's like melting. To pilot this deck really well, it actually takes some amount of kind of familiarity with it. You know what you want to be seeing whenever you're on turn 2, on turn 3, with kind of how your hands are laying out, what your draws are going to lean into, and like how often are you playing towards the Archangel, or how often are you playing to like rip a Sunfall or this. Like, very often we need green and white. It's the most popular. Everything else is kind of whatever for the most part, so you always want to establish like 2 white or 2 green. Something I was learning from the past of the other decks, where it was green white focused heavily, but I don't think it was quite this bad, like on terms of like, we are just a green white deck for the most part. We just splashed a couple other cards and it is what it is. So I wanted to try this out mainly just because we've been playing Niv, and I wanted to see what not Niv looked like. And I think playing Niv affected a little bit of how I played this deck today, because I was so used to needing to get every single color. So if I drew a Niv off the top, whereas like I was sitting with a Sunfall in my hand in one of my games where I didn't go get a second white for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but it is what it is. So with that said, there's the sideboard. Obviously, you have to cater a little bit more towards blue. If you go in the sideboard, it's the best part about playing a 5-color deck is you get access to like all the cards. But outside of that, I hope you all enjoyed and have fun. Have a good day. I don't know what my outro is anymore. Bye bye. See you later.